Hello and welcome to BNN Sundays. I am not Joey T. Badger, and I apologize for that. But we're going to move forward anyhow because I'm Dan, and you're here at glimesh.tv/Dan with a wonderful panel of amazing human beings. If I could actually have the right window selected. There we go. Hey! Awesome. So, BNN Sundays. Joey is not available today. I believe he is participating in family activities. So, hi, I'm Dan. I'll be hosting for this afternoon. Thank you for joining us here. We're going to go ahead and get introductions started. First off, you know her, the headmistress for Sibber, Ileana. Good day, Ileana. How are you?
Doing okay.
Good, good. The elections treat you well, hopefully.
Love the chaos. So
Beautiful.
yes.
Yeah. You're not too worried about Sun 30 throwing more math at us?
Been not really paying attention to the math for
You know what?
12 seasons now, so
Fair enough. I don't think Sibber actually does math, so you know what? I'm sure it's fine.
math is banned.
Oh. I thought Clutch was banned.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, fair enough. Next up, Jade, the I'm going to say beat writer or one of the major lovers writers here at BNN, major contributor to the BNN network for the lovers. How does it feel, Jade, to be the first underbracket champions?
Oh man, it feels great. I honestly was not sure how to process any of it. I still have not processed it at all. But love wins, love unwins, love loses. It happened.
It did happen. And you know what? To celebrate it, I gave Evie too much power here on the channel. I totally just made her a mod. Why not? And our third guest, and a new guest. I've actually never had you on air before. So, Lillian, go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your pronouns, and tell us a little bit about what Spies When is.
So, I'm Lillian. I'll go by he, him pronouns today, and I am the voice, but only one of the writers behind Spies When. It is a podcast we do that is taking our daily debriefings and turning them into an audio format. We've been doing them for many seasons now, but we're starting to formalize them a little bit more. You can find all of our past writings on houstonspies.cyu, and each entry will have a link to the episode of the podcast.
And in addition, if people want to find links to it, if you're already on BNN, you thankfully enough post links to them every time you post them in our podcast channel. And people can find them very easily through that.
Resource. Yep, there's one of a growing number of daily podcasts trying to keep up with everything in the league, so I'm glad to have the help.
There you go. Many hands make for easy work. I think that's a saying. Might be a saying?
Mm-hmm.
Might be a saying.
It's a saying now.
Perfect. Oh.
Yeah. And many fingers make for good pitching.
Oh, I just had horror flashbacks. The moment that Cat, BNN Cat, not BNN Cal, BNN Cal with the little cross on it. The moment Cat explained to me that some pitchers had dozens of fingers, yeah, I wasn't okay for at least a hot second there, trying to figure that out. Here on BNN Sundays, we try to boil down not just the season, but the sport in general, and contain it into this beautiful little package that we can then hand to all of you. And with introductions out of the way, let's just dive right in to what the heck happened this season. This season's big change was the under bracket. Now, the under bracket, we were, pretty, I'm not going to say confident, but we were pretty sure going into it what it was going to be. But the way it changed dynamics for the season, voting strategies, mid-season strategies, all of a sudden, it was a viable option to tank.
More than it was before.
Ileana, I know that you said Sibber doesn't do math. However, could you even take a guess at not just the amount of votes, but the amount of people who were pushing their teams to fail as hard as possible?
The easiest metric we can go off of is the number of teams that requested early to the party in the mid-season gifting extravaganza. That's what I'm calling it now. A majority of the league ended up with early to the party. Pretty much everyone who didn't think they were in the running for the over bracket went and got that. A lot of the teams who were in the running for the over bracket got late to the party. So the teams sort of split off into, hey, we're going to overperform to get that last push to get the higher seed in the over bracket, versus we're going to underperform to get early parties if we can, but also get the higher seed in the under bracket. I think that's the easiest thing to say. Everyone kind of knew what was going on with the under bracket ahead of time, and people. That's the neat thing about gifts. You can kind of change your strategy. The team now mid-season, you can pick and choose different vaulted players to get copies of. I don't remember what they're replicas. That's the word.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see, like, a lot of teams did do a mid-season strategy shift, and really wanted to tank, honestly, to try and get into the first under bracket.
Yeah, and one funny thing that actually happened with that, and Jade, I think you also noticed this. It was pointed out to me by Kat that there was a slight issue with early to the party.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess. It didn't really last that long. It was just the first few days or so, but essentially, for those of you who didn't notice, what essentially happened was that for like the first day or two that that early to the party was in effect, teams would actually overperform, and it would have the same effect as late to the party. And
Oops.
then for like a day or so after that, it just didn't do anything. And then after that, it finally just actually did the right thing. And kind of banking off of like just what you were saying earlier about some teams like intentionally tanking. That was a really hard thing for the lovers in particular because we really wanted to balance because our goal is obviously not the under bracket, our goal is the over bracket. So we wanted to balance, yeah, sure, we're gonna make the under bracket, so we want to tank for that, but also we want to be like good in the long term. So that kind of became a big conflict team wise because like until like up to 15 minutes before late siesta, like the three gifts that we were slotted in to get were early to the party, um, uh, fireproof because we didn't want to get any players torched, and underhanded. Because underhanded as an item, it's gonna last into more than one season. So we figured that that's best for the long term, especially if it doesn't come back next season. So, and then like in the last minute, somebody put a ton of money into unambitious, which was a set with, and that was a huge thing, and it was a huge scramble. And in the end, fireproof got pushed out, and we got unambitious on Theo King, who's already a horrible player, who had an item that
Mhm.
was also not that also made his stats even worse. But somehow during the under bracket, he started insanely overperforming. Had like a point 400 batting average for over the entire under.
Oh God.
But it gets even better. It gets even better because Theo King had a ring that made his uh offensive stats worse, and then he ate the ring. The ring disappeared. No one knows where the ring went. So the lovers once again committed data crimes, and Theo King just got even better, despite the fact that he should be underperforming. And it was Theo King just causes so much chaos for the lovers. I cannot even describe it. At this point, Theo King is the bane of our existence. Theo King is a Blaseball player gone sentient whose sole mission is to ruin the lovers' lives.
Sitting
Use
here looking at Theo King's feed, and no, there's no entry that says where the item went.
there's
This
not.
is
Yeah,
the first
it's
I've heard of this. This is incredible.
Oh
it's gone.
no. There was some gift shop shenanigans that happened this season as well. And Lillian, I want to talk about the spies here, but I'm going to sit on this for just a moment. There was this season some gift shop shenanigans. So for those that don't know, the gift shop, you can, as participants in Blaseball, gift other teams or help gift other teams stuff. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does the opposite of working out. In this case, apparently either an individual or a small group of people were trying to get Chorby souls on many teams, and none of them wanted Chorby souls. And I'm not sure what can be done to deal with that, but needless to say, the scramble that it caused was it was humorous. It was humorous. I don't think Yellowstone, I didn't hear of Yellowstone having to deal with it, so I was able to just sit back and be like unkindly.
Yeah, I can say the Spies did deal with it. We did have to do a last minute scramble to avoid Chorby Soul. We managed it. We were happy. And then we looked to the side and realized that someone else had dumped millions of coins into Solar Eclipse Plus.
Oh God! So please explain what Solar Eclipse Plus does.
Solar Eclipse Plus increases the incidence of solar eclipse weather. This is going to become much more significant if we get around to talking about what happened during the election. But in effect, for us, Solar Eclipse Plus will wind up adding about 1, maybe 2 extra solar eclipse games next season at home.
You want as few solar eclipse games as possible.
In
those,
solar eclipse, the umps get a little touchy.
the umps may be a little jittery, They don't like solar eclipses, and sometimes, boom.
The library has some light reading under a Ruby Tuesday if you want to learn more.
Light reading. I wasn't ready for that. Light read. Okay. All right. Sure. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure flames are bright. It has to be light, right?
Speaking of light, the Spies almost made it. The Spies almost crushed through the over bracket. My first question on that is going to be: did the Spies plan on doing this well? Did they have a hope that it was going to be just a charge through it season?
We have been trying to build slowly and well to more or less bulletproof ourselves to make consistent runs over the last few seasons. We've been playoff appearances the last few seasons. We've tried our best to not have a standout star, but instead enough people that we can take some hits and still keep going. And this season, it aligned better than usual. We were able to make some powerful moves. And by the time we were in the gift shop, and you mentioned almost all the teams in contention went to late to the party, we were able to say, we have enough of a buffer. We aren't going to worry about it. We don't have to overperform. We're just going to grab a Valentine Games replica who can actually help us through the actual postseason, as opposed to a mod that'll go away at the end of the regular season. And Valentine Games did real work for us. But in the end, we wound up coming up against a mechs team that, we've done the math here, at the end, when they had 3 batters, they averaged 1.27 thwackability, 0.5 patheticism, and 0.94 omniscience over the lineup.
God.
Oh, dear Lord.
If we did
we're
not
broken.
have underhanded in 2 games, it would have ended sooner.
Whew.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, this is, and they're a small ball team for all of that. So our underhanded still didn't do as much as we wanted it to.
Yeah.
This season was probably one of the best performances that I have observed the Spies doing. This was an incredibly impressive run, all things considered. So
Yeah.
It would have been nice if you all had gotten the win. Of course, I love the core mechanics as well quite a bit. I broadcast some games for them. They're wonderful, and I love them as well. But you know what? If we had seen the Spies just charge straight through, that would have been incredible. Because at least for me, and I'm not trying to dig at the Spies at all, I didn't see that coming. I didn't see it coming.
That's the point. We're spies. And
Touche.
we attract the kind of people who deal with this vibe that say, we want to be competent, we want to do things the hard way, and we want to be just below notice while still being rather impressed with how well we're doing. And this season it just happened to bubble up high enough that everyone else started to perceive us too. And so we promptly got chomped and started rolling back. That's why our most recent episode of the podcast is called Sisyphus. We know we got close to the top, we're rolling back, and now we get to start the work again.
That's good. That's good. Is that the one that did you just put an episode out today?
I recorded that one last night. We tried to get the debriefings up around 8 p.m. Eastern, and then sometimes I can record it that night, sometimes it's the next morning.
Nice. Okay, everyone, make sure you go to the podcast channel in the BNN Discord and check that out. Everyone, make sure you do that sometime. With that being said, I want to focus in just a little bit on the under bracket and how it changed some dynamics throughout the season. First off, and it's what we've kind of touched on already, is the gift shop and the mid-season mechanics and changes and whatnot. We saw teams that either did not feel like they could make the over bracket, crank the gears and try to, hit the under bracket as hard as possible. I'm ignoring chat right now. I can't look at chat, making me chuckle. We also saw a lot fewer teams party because of the under bracket, and that's kind of where I want to start the conversation. What is going to be the primary way that teams get stars for players now that the under bracket exists? And if you are the most failing team, you don't get parties. If you get into the under bracket, suddenly no party times. The amount of teams that get parties suddenly got. Oh, you did get parties? Did the under bracket teams get parties?
Yeah, the
They didn't
under
party
bracket.
time until they got to the under bracket.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was my mistake. I did not understand that mechanic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Partying is still dependent on over bracket contention. Under bracket isn't relevant to that.
It's not at all.
Eliminated from the postseason is now a bit of a misnomer.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense to my brain, but you know what? That's Blaseball. Okay, well, we can just skip past back that topic. We just move forward here then. With the under bracket, do teams actively start to consistently tank themselves? And I want to go around to each of the panelists, starting with Jade. Obviously, Lovers won the under bracket here for the first time.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a viable strategy moving forward to just aim for the under bracket?
Honestly, I don't think so. Like, speaking from the Lovers, our goal is still the over bracket. We still, like, the over bracket is still, like, I don't think you can evolve from under bracket or anything like that. I mean, we don't know, obviously, but I think that the over bracket still kind of reads as the end goal for teams. Obviously, it feels a lot better to be a good team than it does to be a bad team. And honestly, I feel like for us as the Lovers, like, us winning the under bracket, if it wasn't against the Wild Wings, who we have a good relationship with and faced off in the playoffs in season 7, if it weren't against them, I feel like our victory would have been a bit more bittersweet. Uh, but it was still because, but I do feel like there would be, if there's going to be any team that's aiming for the under bracket, I feel like it's got to be the Ohio Worms. um, like, just, but it wouldn't even be for long just because of their bottom dweller modification. If they aim for the bottom, then they're going to start shooting back up. So, really, I feel like the over bracket's still the end goal. I feel like the under bracket's more of a stopgap to at least give teams closer to the bottom something to look forward and aim for in a season to season standpoint, but I don't feel like that's a long-term goal for anybody.
Kind of tongue in cheek almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Ileana, as someone who ignores numbers, doesn't pay attention to numbers, do we see people piling attention and activity onto the under bracket, or is it going to be, like Jade was saying, a scenario where it's a nice side project, it's a nice fun concession, but people still put all of their voting and money towards over bracket, the original bracket?
I think most teams are going to try to get back to the over bracket season over season. I think mechanically it's very difficult to tank and succeed at tanking repeatedly over seasons. Time normalizes you in one direction. At the same time, consumers normalize you in the other direction. Um, may not be happening on the upper end for a little bit now because of light switch and all of the density nonsense that's happening. But
We'll get to that.
we'll get to that eventually. Mechanically, it's very difficult to ink season over season over season. And it's a strategy you kind of only want to employ one, maybe 2 seasons in a row. It's a lot easier, especially with wills, to get better inch by inch by inch every season than it is to try and deliberately mess your team up for a season. So I don't think it's I think the under bracket is useful to have something to look forward to if you are tanking. Like it's now emotionally viable. to tank.
It's not so disheartening to see. Oh God, we're 11 and 60 right now.
You can sit down as a team and you can say, okay, instead of saying we're gonna tank because we'll party like 4 times maybe, or we're gonna make an under bracket run. Right? It sounds so much cooler.
Sure. Lillian, as a team that made a very solid, serious run and made it to the finals this season, how do you folks look at the under bracket? Is it something that you want to participate in at some point? Is it something that is just going to be there that you might participate in at some point? Is it something you want to avoid? Where is the mindset of a team that is currently and just did very well?
I mean, they don't even get a real signature on their certificate, so I'm not sure what the under bracket is actually going to get teams these days. But Blaseball has already fractioned into teams that are playing at least 4 or 5 different games. And what game they play is chosen season by season because so much changes. This season, we had one set of teams playing the over bracket game, one set of teams playing the under bracket game, and a set of teams that are starting to play football, trying to focus on the depth chart and getting up or down on the E density.
Oh God, no! I didn't want to see that as a football chart. Oh no!
They're end zones, Dan.
Oh no!
There's nothing you can do about it.
And that's why Luocrates was offering us safety.
Go long.
I guess. Oh, okay. Fair enough.
And when the ends met, there's a lot of numerology around the Spies here. Luocrates saying the ends are meeting, and then the left whiteout and the right whiteout on the chart wound up in the finals. The Spies and the Mechs were at +1 and -1 on the x-axis.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Whew. A good question has been brought up. Thank you, Lillian, for bringing this question up specifically. What, in the future, does the under bracket get a team? When a team wins the under bracket, right now they don't get anything. Admittedly, winning the over bracket technically doesn't get you anything either. I am curious what you all think might eventually come of the under bracket. Does someone get something from it? Do they get an announcement just like the over bracket team does, like it currently is? What is the end result, let's say, of the under bracket? And Lillian, since you brought it up, you can go first on this.
Well, as I've heard some Yellowstone-based teams say, as above, so below. And I suspect that the under bracket is going to we've seen it being tracked. There's a nice purple dot now on the lovers. And I suspect the first team to get 3 of them, the word I've seen most often is devolve. But there's no mechanical explanation and no idea what that could mean, but it's the mirror, so why not?
Asabibo. Ileana, you go next. What comes of the under bracket?
You know some things from certain parts of the book that are hidden but not hidden well enough.
Oh,
We can put it that way.
Ooh.
So I think there's an expectation. One of the components of the giant formula from hell, that is the density calculation, championships. I think that under championships will likely have the opposite effect. Um, I think all you're going to get out of it. I don't think you're going to like devolve or descend or whatever.
Descend.
Once you collect 3 of them, I don't know if anyone will ever collect 3 of them. We don't know how long the under championship is going to stay around, right? Like, I do think it's it feels like an equal but opposite kind of thing to me.
Okay. Jade, your thoughts?
Yeah, you have to kind of think about the fact that like it's the person doing like the whole like the whole football field density scheme is the reader,
Mm-hmm.
and the under bracket, the under championship little blinker, it's all purple, it's all reader color. So you kind of have to think about the kind of thing that the reader would do and how the reader would utilize the underbracket. And I do agree with Ileana here that it's probably going to be more negative E density and float teams up more because right now, unless you have Chorby Soul, which you can't have anymore, um, it there's no logical way to float super far up or down into either end zone. So um I feel like that could be a good avenue for it. Or alternatively, like we saw a lot of E density related blessings. Some of them made you heavier, some of them made you lighter. And that also makes you think that like maybe being too light also has its consequences because you wouldn't have blessings that make you heavier if being heavier is the only bad thing. Maybe getting closer to those cacti up in the other end zone also brings something equally bad. We don't know, but maybe we will soon.
Fair enough. Also, side question, what do you all plan on doing with that wonderful purple dot you have now?
Yeah, we don't really have a good plan for like how we want to handle E density. Right now we want to stay light because that's what we've been doing. It's worked. We still have not had a single consumer attack ever.
Ever?
I don't know how ever. We've only had we haven't we've it's we've had the red dot like for like probably like the for like the tail end of a couple of seasons and like the first day of some other seasons. So we've gotten lucky. Um and especially with like Kurt Kruller sitting in our shadows and now in our lineup all this time, it's very impressive how we've been able to manage that, and I think that we're capable of continuing to manage that, and having that under championship to float us up will definitely help us out a lot. As for whether we want to test out um descending or whatever, we don't have any plans of that. Again, like I said, we want to focus the under bracket. We want to keep getting better, um and maybe go all the way the other way.
Sure. So, it's been brought up by everyone. So let's just go at it. E density. E density is a thing in Blaseball. A team has an E density, and depending upon how dense they are, they could be susceptible to consumer attacks. The more E density you have, I believe 1 and below, you are susceptible to consumer attacks, which can chomp your players and reduce the amount of stars they have. Some teams, specifically the garages and the lovers, have an E density of 0.76 for the garages and 0.78 for the lovers. They are the least dense teams. Ileana, what is how does density? How does density?
Dear God.
Yeah, that's the correct response.
If you'll refer to our paper on the subject.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, density is a sort of collection of physical objects and concepts that teams collect over time. So, runs, wins, player stars, championships, probably under championships, things of that nature. When we had unwins all of season 19, teams started floating back up. So the depth chart is there's sort of some kind of fluid mechanics nonsense happening behind the scenes. So you have your density that changes each day in Blaseball, but that affects where your position is in the depth chart. And we've pretty much had figured out for a while what the y-axis on the depth chart is, that being how you get from either end zone to the other one or stay in the middle. And the garages and the covers both being really light end up towards the top of the depth chart there. We have rough ideas on what's going on the x-axis, but it's still kind of confusing. I don't quite understand it. I don't feel confident talking about it yet, but something's going on. We don't know what any of the rest of the depth chart means. We do know that once you or density relates to some math nonsense that gets you a final position on this depth chart, and that position, whether you are above or below the noodle, is how you are getting impacted by consumer attacks. The further down you are, the more likely it is to happen more often, as we saw in past seasons with teams that had Chorby Soul. Yeah, a lot of teams are trying to strategize all of the different changes to density and the mechanics being introduced around that. A lot of teams picked up Light Switch in the ballpark renovations in the midseason. A lot of teams picked up balloons. All of these are things that can help make you floatier over time and sort of approach the top end.
No.
The top end of the everything is a pun, Dan. Everything in this game is a pun.
Yep.
Yeah, it helps you sort of approach the top end of the depth chart.
I did notice this season that on rare occasions, you mentioned balloons. Balloons were getting popped every so often and scaring away birds.
Yes.
I'm curious about the long-term effects of trying to install balloons, but then Blaseball players smacking balls, popping a balloon.
Balloons and scaring birds.
Yeah, which makes you heavier, I assume.
Birds fly, which obviously makes your ballpark lighter.
Yeah. That works, right?
So yeah,
Always flying in the birdhouse all the time.
It'll be interesting to see what the effect is, right?
Yeah.
It'll be. I think that's something where we're going to need to collect more data over the next season, because we only had 3 weeks and a postseason to really figure that out. And whether the long-term effect of having both birdhouses and balloons is actually worse off for you than just one or the other. I'm sure someone will figure it out. Someone will make a spreadsheet.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for spreadsheets. Also, I'm trying to decide if Biff was actually providing information in chat or making a pun, and I'm not sure which is scarier. I'm not sure which I should be. If Biff making a pun? Oh, it's true. Okay, never mind.
I don't know
okay.
if hatch is the right word, but when you hit a foul ball in in a ballpark, you do get another bird if you have bird houses.
Thank goodness. And everyone should have birdhouses. Birdhouses are delightful.
There is one thing with it though. We've had birds fly away in stadiums that don't have birdhouses,
Yeah.
which could give them.
Balloons have popped in ballparks that don't have birds.
Yeah, and do they get negative birds? Are these totally unrelated birds from birdhouses? We don't know. Or at least I don't think we do.
Wait, the bucket
Can-
has unbirds? How
can
is an
confirm.
unbird?
Can confirm that the bucket and some other ballparks have negative birds. Doesn't
Okay.
show on the website because they don't have birdhouses.
Oh, that's awful. That's like the dark crows from Alan Wake. Oh God.
I hate it.
Okay. So, as one of the,
I love this message in chat. Unbirds, Dan. It's not rocket science.
Moving on, Lillian, as one of the most dense teams, currently at least, the Spies, sitting pretty low on the depth chart. You're currently 1.16 on the depth chart. Is there a plan to lighten things up?
Yes, wait a day. Once we hit the new season, all of our wins go away.
Oh, fair enough.
And at that point, if you've ever seen one of those slingshot carnival rides at the theme parks,
yeah,
we'll be bungee jumping.
You're just gonna be just thrown way up above the noodle.
But during the season, we went for the balloons. We've gone for birds. We are doing whatever we can to do some very deep magic on the idle board, which affects things in ways I don't think we want to talk about here.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But suffice to say that we had to, like you said, because we were trying to do well in one of the games, we had to engage with other game mechanics in order to try and keep ourselves from getting bit more than we already did. Consumers cost us about 10 to 12 stars over the lineup.
Oh. No. No.
But
Bad.
because and that kind of damage can't be fixed 1 or 2 bits at a time and get you back to the finals immediately. So if you go too low, you party and you come back to the middle. If you go too high, you get chomped and you come back to the middle. It's a good way of keeping that churn going.
There's a lot of equilibrium going on here. Now, Jade, as one of the lightest teams on the depth chart, are the Lovers looking to continue an upward sail towards those spiky cacti?
Like I said before, we're kind of scared of those cacti. We don't know what they do.
Sure, they're fine. They're fine.
But we, as of current, we're in a pretty good place right now. We're not getting chomped. We're not anywhere near getting chomped. We're not and on the other hand, we're not having any mysterious bad things happen to us.
Oh, why'd you say that?
I mean, fingers crossed there aren't any mysterious bad things that happen as you get closer to those cacti, but right now we're avoiding that, and we plan to continue avoiding that. Nothing bad happened to us this season, except for Theo King. We're planning on continuing nothing bad happening to us. Hopefully, maybe, possibly.
Yeah,
Probably
that always
not.
works out well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna pull the hubris back just a little bit. Let's talk concessions and gift shop. The concessions and gift shop have been pretty dynamic over the last season or so, and especially there have been some changes, and we were kind of discussing this beforehand. Changes to how concessions, especially, are going to be approached moving forward. Lillian, you had some interesting thoughts on concessions in particular. So if you don't mind going back to the conversation we were having before we're going on air, please go into that.
Sure. So over the last season, we've had a wonderful market with a wonderful overlap with Animal Crossing, so we could call it the stock market, because Paula Turnip had credit to the team and was paying out a very large number of coins in multiples larger than we have seen in prior seasons. And so there was a lot of money floating around the economy. There was a lot of tickets flowing around. Incidentally, that was also heightened by the change in the. I suspect it was also a bit changed, highlighted by the change in the rules on alt accounts. So there was even more money floating around than usual. And then during this election, Turnip has been re-rolled and is no longer a credit to the team. And so now, as we go forward, we're going to have to think again.
Oh, no. There's enough thinking going on.
Don't worry, I've done some thinking. I can provide some insight here as the official, unofficial economist of Blaseball. I'm very, very excited, as in like insanely excited for the snack economy next season. Like you would not believe how excited I am, because because Paula Turnip's out of the way, but Adalberto Tosser, whoo baby. Adalberto Tosser only got better, possibly due to a bug that made Adalberto's ruthlessness better. But on top of that, we have probably the most diverse snack economy that we've had ever, because even with Turnip gone, we have Wyatt Glover back, and Wyatt Glover can still hold up the snack economy, along with players like Don Mitchell and Hendricks Richardson that still make a good amount of that still give you some pretty penny. If you've got hitting snacks, pitching snacks, well, if anyone who follows me on Twitter knows that I love Adalberto Tosser, and I love anything having to do with the pitcher metagame, and that's only better now. Tosser's underhanded. Tosser is now even better than last season, and we have another season with them before the Crabs probably re-roll them, as they tried this season, but they also wanted to re-roll Alston Cerveza, and then that's where it went. And then on top of that, like it or not, Silver Roadhouse has OG debt, which means that some players are going to go up in flames, and that means that, and judging from the comments that the coin made, we can kind of guess that E density is going to be a lot uppy downy. So then weather snacks might actually make a comeback. So with all of that, we may actually have a very diverse snack economy where all three of those strats are pretty close to or perfectly viable, and that's something I'm really excited for. I've really been pushing for like a more fleshed out metagame for money making in Blaseball, and I feel like at least for this season, that's kind of starting to happen, and I'm really really excited for that.
Ileana, where are you on snacks? What snack do you feel is going to be the most important going into this next season?
I hate to say it, but Sundays.
You're okay. So we were having a conversation before we started the stream about election stuff, and we'll get to election stuff here in a moment. But you specifically homed in on something I actually didn't know. The Boston Flowers with Silver Roadhouse, which was just mentioned by Jade, there is a debt. Please explain how dangerous this is.
So the Flowers re-rolled Silver Roadhouse's flinch.
Mm-hmm.
Common strategy.
Yep. Good.
The sim is a glutton for chaos and re-rolled it to debt. This is not commonly known. There are 4 different types of debt right now in the sim. 3 of them we saw on Jalen Hot Dog Fingers in the Discipline era. 1 involved incineration, 1 involved feedback, 1 involved, I don't remember. The other
Reverb.
one was, yeah, reverb.
Repeating.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, so repeating. That was wild. Yeah, that was wild. So, and
Yeah,
then the 4th one we saw in the expansion era was redacted.
Yes.
Whereas players would get observed, which we saw in the coffee cup, weirdly enough, and then later ended up possibly getting redacted in coffee weather. This, as far as we can tell, is the same debt we saw in Season 7 on Jalen Hot Dog Fingers, which involved incineration and instability. There's a bit of confusion going on right now because there's a number of additional details we have that aren't particularly clear to us. The background color of like the different debts is subtly different. And so there is a good amount of like, are you sure it's actually the incineration one? We don't know for sure until it's going to happen. Starting Monday, I guess. This is between this and I think the library now having a new book out on what exactly happened when brought Jalen Hot Dog Fingers back in the Season 6 election. I have a feeling that's not the greatest omen in the world. A complete whim prior to the election happening. I had 5 million coins. I didn't want to vote because I don't know. I just didn't feel like it. And so just got rid of seeds and pickles and grabbed sundaes, pretzels, donuts, and chum just on a whim. And I think that's going to work out pretty well.
Yeah.
As much as I dislike that.
Okay. Lillian, and we're going to get to election stuff here shortly, so everyone prepare your election thoughts. But Lillian, are you going to be investing into sundaes, or is there another snack that you believe, based on your thoughts, is going to be more vital?
I carried sundaes for a while at the start of the expansion era. I was very proud to... I was Sunday's chum for a while because I was sure bad things were happening quicker. And as of this election, I am back on the frinary, hot fries, cold fries.
Oh!
I think that having the ability to have a reasonable switch when you can to make a little bit more money, but then having a guaranteed idle that can still pay more than 1 game per game is pretty good.
Let's not get back into games per game, please. Let's not. We're already with Sun 30 having been elected, we're already going to have to deal with even more wins per win. I'm putting a question mark there, because honestly,
Wins per win has been a complete disaster fire since Season 11. So,
well, welcome to making it worse. Because that's, I think, what we did. Whew. Okay.
Yeah, we elected Sun 30. I almost said Season 30. God forbid.
Sun 30 for Season
Or as
30.
we call it, whatever comes after Season 20, we still don't know.
Well, at least we know what Season 24 is. Thank goodness. Bless the legal teams. Let's go into the election.
We voted with 58% of all decree votes for Sun 30. When a game enters extra innings, both teams will immediately earn 1 win.
Right.
To preface this, how elections function is you can earn coins during Blaseball, and you can use those coins at the end of each season to buy votes to effect changes. Now, those could be changes to individual teams or individual players, which we will get to in a moment, or changes to the game overall. Now, the change to the game overall is what was just mentioned by Ileana, which is Sun 30. And we're going to see a lot more just wins being thrown at the wall. Every time a game goes into extra innings, have some wins. Just have some wins.
The important thing to remember is, like, if you want to contextualize all of this, right? Like, if you've ever watched other, like, non-blood sports leagues,
What?
not non-strange internet blood sports leagues, league standings are actually fairly common, where you get league points based on certain things that happen, whether you win by a certain amount or what have you. This is effectively that, where you I don't know if people remember back in season 4 or 5 when double jump was a decree option,
Yes.
where you'd gain 2 wins if you beat your sub league leader in a game. It's basically just league points, right? It's what gets you into the over bracket or the under bracket at the end of the season. We still have non-losses; those are still normal-ish numbers. And go into your record. And those still add up to 99. So if you want to think about wins in Blaseball in a method that isn't completely estranged, think of them as league points, and the only thing that matters is how it affects your density and whether you get into the over bracket or the under bracket. But yeah, we're gonna see a lot more between Sun being out still and Black Holes increasing wins for the team that not loop. That's still gonna be happening next season, it looks like. There's gonna be I think we may have some teams approach the old record of 80 wins. 81 wins now? I don't know.
Oh wow.
No, didn't beat it.
Did beat it or they didn't?
No, the Pies did not beat it. That is actually something that the Lovers crushed their hopes and dreams by sweeping them in the last series of the season.
I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the old 80 win record set by the Crabs and tied by the Spies. We might see someone break it this season, just
Okay.
with all the wins being thrown around.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will open the question up to our other 2 panelists here. Jade, first, what are your thoughts on Sun 30?
Sun 30. The one thing that I really find kind of about Sun 30 is if it's going to affect the playoffs. Because if it affects the playoffs, then, like, let's say a team's up 2-1 and then the game goes into extra innings. And then if both teams get a win, then that team gets 3 wins. The other team gets 2.
Uh-oh.
But anyways,
There we go.
Oh,
No, everything's
hey.
fine. Everything is
all right,
okay.
everything is okay. All right. But I feel like teams can now
No, that's
win.
that's just how my brain is feeling right now, admittedly. just shut off. Brain just want to shut. Brain just want to be done.
That's Blaseball Sundays, baby.
Lillian, what are your thoughts on Sun 30?
I think that it is going to be fairly neutral for the results. There are a lot other than it is going to increase the consumers. We're going to have more dense teams because they have more wins.
That's a very good point. With e-density being a very serious topic right now, that's a very good point, actually. Interesting. I'm curious how that's going to affect the depth chart.
Yeah, the last 3 or 4 seasons, the coin has been on a steady rampage against negative e-density.
Interesting. That's true. Okay, let's go into, because we have very limited time left here. Really quick, I'm going to give each of you just a minute or 2 to talk about election stuff for individual teams. If you could pick 1 or 2 that you want to focus on. I'm actually going to start here real quick, and I'm going to start by highlighting for the Magic, we got both the wills that we were really gunning for. The item steal between James Mora and Orville Menko, and the Tiana Wheeler Attractor reroll. Unfortunately, rerolled into Flinch, which, oh well.
You can do.
that kind of negates Oh No Blood for Tiana Wheeler permanently. We'll make do, but at least she doesn't have a tractor anymore. Those things, the fact that we got both those things done felt really good for the Magic. So, Lillian, your highlight or highlights for election results.
Well, the Spies are known to be hated by the gods. We have the worst average divine favor over all seasons, but we are loved by the Windy. And we got two nice effects this season. The major one was stealing the the one that gave us the perk player out from under the 56% chance of the moist talk of the getting it. And so we now have Commissioner Vapor.
Congratulations.
Coming into the next season.
Congratulations, Commissioner Vapor.
Yeah. The other team I'll talk about is one that's dear to the Spies' hearts, BC Noir. Because Uncle Plasma and Liquid Friend had some very interesting things happen on this election where they are now both retired and legendary. So they are out of the game until the next gift shop opens.
Their investigation is concluded. Congratulations to both of them. All right.
No idea why.
Do any of us know what's going on here? Really?
That whole investigation arc was so confusing. I still have not wrapped my head around any of it.
If anyone at any point in time wraps their head around anything in Blaseball, please let us know immediately. BNN would like to hire you. I'm just saying. Ileana, your highlights for the election.
Twofold. Breathmints had a good election. Again, we got both the whales we wanted. Again, for like the 9th season in a row.
How's that doing for you guys over on the Breathmints?
We had a really good playoffs run.
Okay, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
I think we're continually improving, so that's good. We got a blessing. Very rarely get blessings, so. Jode and Leech Ingram are evolved now, so that's weird but cool. I think the most interesting thing that happened this election, in my opinion, was the core mechanics made a very bold play.
Really?
And they got it. They got the thing that they wanted to do. So they put in extra votes into equivalent exchange to try and get Zoe Kirshner back.
Oh.
Swapping for Sheree McElroy, whatever, back to the stakes. And then also put in a bunch of will votes to move Sheree the shadows.
And it... Oh, my lord.
You have no way of controlling which order your wills go in.
That was a
One
gamble.
gets picked, and then another gets picked. It was extremely bold. Like, the Breathmints talked about doing this a few seasons ago, but we didn't want to take the risk of trying to balance out the will votes. But the mechs did it. So
And they moved...
hats off to them.
They moved a lot of voting power for that to happen, too.
Yes, they did.
Ooh, woof. I'm just looking at the percentiles on these. The equivalent exchange, 73%. The move odds, 17%. Whew. Oh, buddy. Okay. That's a good highlight. Thank you for bringing that up. I actually did not see that. So, hey, good on the core mechanics. Those late snipes are always tough to do. Jade, your turn.
So first off, talking about the lovers. Lovers had 3 wills this season, which is always very scary for us. And they actually all went perfectly our way. We wanted to reroll Todd Fox's flinch, but we also wanted to shadow them so that we didn't have to worry too much about if we got something bad. We actually shadowed them and got affinity for crows on them, which is the mod that the pies have, which works really well. And then on top of that, we have Kurt Kruller up in our lineup now, And we also managed to infuse Kurt Kruler's batting stat, which was also very lucky on our part. Um, so we're looking good, and we didn't get any blessings, but because we really wanted to focus on making sure we got the wills we wanted. So that's really good. Then on top of that, other part, and then main other thing is that the steaks and the tacos both shadowed their corresponding echoing players,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that now Wyatt Mason X is the only echoing player in play, meaning that the three of them will be safe for at least a few seasons coming on. So
That's good. That's good.
yeah, so they so yeah, I'm also surprised by how many teams went for magnification. I didn't think it was going to be as popular as it ended up being. But yeah, I mean, that's good. And then on top of that, another lovers related thing is that the lift also grabbed Knight Triumphant in an equivalent exchange, meaning that now we have which Knight Triumphant World Tour continues. What can I say?
I will highlight one more, and one that I'm very happy to see, in that the Flowers were able to organize a very strong equivalent exchange effort to bring the Cactus back home to Boston. Castillo Turner back pitching for the Flowers. And if anyone hasn't seen the amount of stars that Castillo Turner has in pitching, the readout on the website struggles to show it all, which I think is hilarious. 10.1 stars in pitching for a one Cactus Castillo Turner. That's scary. That's frightening. So, and with that being said, that brings us to the end of this BNN Sunday. I went a little over time, and that's just fine. We're going to go ahead and head around the horn here real quick, do reintroductions for people who don't know folks, and close things out for the day. We'll start with Jade. Jade, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let people know where they can find you.
So I'm Jade Townsend. My Twitter handle is @notacredit. I mainly post lovers related content as well as just economic advice, news on how the snack economy is doing. That's a more recent development that I've started getting into. But yeah, that's what I've been doing lately. And you can also find me around the BNN Discord. Sometimes I write little articles and stuff like that for the lovers. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Thank you. Ileana, first off, tell us about yourself, where people can find you, and tell us how to pronounce Sibber.
You can find me on Twitter at Ileana Quorum, Quorum. I don't post anything of relevance, and nobody should follow me ever. You can also find me hanging out in the Society for Internet Blaseball Research Discord at discord.sibr.dev. I will not answer any further questions.
Okay, fair enough. Lillian, as our newest guest here, this is your first time coming on a broadcast with us. Give us the full bio, tell us about yourself, and where people can find you.
All right. I am Lillian. I'm a spy, and I hang around the Spies channels, which are numerous, but no more numerous than any other teams, really. You can find some of my work on the Spies Win, that's WHEN podcast, available wherever fine podcasts are sold. And they are based on the entire body of work of the Spies debriefings, which you can find at our team website, which is houstonspies.cyu. If you're new to Blaseball and still looking for a team, check us out, read our newcomers slideshow, and see if you like our vibe.
Now, one quick question. Do the Spies like being perceived? Because one big thing about Blaseball is whether or not you're perceived, or story relevant, admittedly. So how do the Spies deal with being perceived right now?
So we somehow managed to get through a near championship run with only one player stuck on the idle board, and we are pretty happy about that. And other than that, we will try and be a little more obfuscatory in the coming season.
As you should. Be safe, be spies. I don't know if that's a thing, but I tried. I'm Dan.
I appreciate it.
I'm Dan. I am a BNN board member, an organizer for the Blaseball News Network. Please check us out at blaseball.news. We do have some wonderful developments on the way, including a Patreon that we're going to be putting out here this summer, and a few other wonderful developments, not just for the broadcasters here, but for the writers and reporters as a whole. With that being said, we're done for this Sunday. And luckily enough, no one got incinerated. So we will get out of here before an incident occurs. And we will see you all next week. Not just for another BNN Sunday with Joey T. Badger next week, but with a mid-season power rankings review coming up this Wednesday. Have a good day, everyone. And goodbye now.